Hello, my name is Ken Walsh, and welcome to our tutorial on the div tag for organizing your HTML page. Let's take a look at this page. A little simple page I have, and what I've done is I put a kind of a heading section, a left column that's a little more narrow, a right column a little wider, and then a footer column with a link. Okay, well, how did I do that? First of all, this is considered a fixed width page. You can see that as I resize the document, it is always the same width no matter the size of my browser. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're thinking about the box model, and each div tag makes a box, and I might put other boxes inside boxes. So what I've done is I put the entire page in a box set to this 800 pixel width, which gives me my fixed width site. And then things like the heading section, my menu, my left column and right column are all boxes within that box. So let's look at how I created that. The div tags, or the boxes, are created over here in the CSS file. I have a bunch of CSS rules for my different tags. Look at the first CSS rule here that says div.frame. So that means a division of class frame is defined by that rule. And what I've defined is the width property, and I've made the width property 800 pixels. That's how I define the width of my page. And now look how I use it over here in the HTML document. So in the body of my HTML document, my very first division says class equals frame. And you can see that my begin class equals frame tag is here, and the ending for that is way down the end of the page. Hard to see exactly, but you could tell because the next line is another begin div tag, so it's not the ending tag that goes with that. And so surrounding my page is a div class equals frame, and that makes the width. Within that frame, you can see I have a begin class equals header and end class equals header. Well, over here in my CSS file, I defined div class header as having a background color of cornflower blue and a padding of 10 pixels. That means that that box is going to be blue and it's going to have padding around it of 10 pixels. And so the HTML file says it's got a heading 1 tag inside it that says column example site home. And then here on the page you see column example site home. The reason it's blue is because it's in the div with class header. You can see there's a little space between the box and the C. That was because I set that padding to 10 pixels. And so that represents the header class here, the first one shown in the HTML file. I follow the header class with a class menu, and the class menu is over here. It's a very light blue. Padding is still 10 pixels. And then within that menu class, I put 3 A tags, and those A tags are here: home, page 2, and page 3. I can click on those. We'll go to page 2, page 3. Back to home. By the way, I'll scroll down over here in the CSS file, and you'll see the A tags are defined as having a background color, and they're defining as having a color and a background color for the hover, and that's what lets me mouse over the home tag there and change the color. But now the interesting part. So those are 2 boxes within the main box, and the header and menu do not specify a width. Therefore, they fill the full width of the box that they're inside, which is the frame. But now we go on to this left column, and that is the third division I've made here. After the menu division, I define the left column division. The left column division is now defined here, but I've defined this differently than the menu and the header. I've put both a width of 200 pixels, so it's narrower than the frame it's within, and a padding of 10 pixels is the same. And I defined float as left. Float as left means it stays to the left side of the window, and the next object defined can be placed to the right if it fits. Then I defined the right column, made it 560 pixels wide. I had to make sure that the 560, 200, and all the 4 of these 10 pixel paddings all fit within my 800 pixel frame, or the right column would not fit there. And so I just defined the left column over here in the HTML first and the right column second. But because I have float defined as left, the right column here slips up beside the left column. I could do that with any number of columns, 2, 3 columns, various widths, things like that. Once I've placed my 2 columns, then I want to go back to a little footer section here that's the full width of the page. What I do when I want to go back to stop the floating and not continue next to it is I've used clear : both, which means to clear the floating, so that the footer must follow everything and can't be placed beside it. And so that footer is forced to be below everything above it, and also takes the full width of the page. So that's the division tag. I've used a division tag and I've defined a bunch of classes: frame, header, menu. I just made those up. They can be anything you want. And I use the float and width properties to get the columns I'm interested in. And so that's kind of your introduction to the div float property. Thanks.